So this is the Hinge Kit that I bought. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to address an issue with the tire carrier on the rear. This is good for your factory tire, but the tire carrier on the Jeep is not really made to carry an aftermarket tire, and we just recently added aftermarket wheels with a 4.5-inch offset and 35-inch tires. So one, the offset will not fit this, and two, it needs to be a heavier duty. So that's the thing we're going to address today, is swapping out this tire carrier. I have purchased a new one, and let me show you what we got. So this is the Hinge Kit that I bought. This is the Teraflex JK HD hinged carrier. This is an all aluminum hinge carrier, and I also bought the tire mounting kit, and this is also from Teraflex. This is the kit with the hinge and the tire carrier. This has an adjustment in and out and up and down, so you can set the clearance for your tires very easy with this carrier. So this carrier and hinge kit from Teraflex, from all the reviews and everything that I've read about it, it is a very, very good kit. However, this is pretty pricey for a carrier. The Rugged Ridge, runs around $500, but this Teraflex one, this is about $14 for this kit. So it's not very cheap, but it's something that I need to be able to carry the wheels. I have one more wheel. I got to take this one off, so I'm going to take this wheel off, this hinge kit, and I'm going to remove this light, and I'm going to save this light, and it's going to be relocated in here. I think that carrier kit, I think it has like a bracket to install the light in the center of the tire. So first off, let's go ahead and get everything unpacked and unboxed, and then let's start disassembling this factory and putting the new Teraflex hinge kit on. So first things first, I want to go ahead and remove the spare tire. I have a Milwaukee Impact with a 3/4 inch drive. So you can spread these and they should pop off. Just like so. Just spread them and pop them off. And then you have these, just pull them out. And this will expose your hinges, your factory hinges. I'm going to take my Impact and I'm going to remove all the bolts around the factory tire carrier. These are a 13 millimeter. Once you remove all the bolts from your factory tire carrier, you can turn it over, and on this light you have these Torx screws. There's 4, and these are T20s. So just take those off. Once those are removed, you just take your braided line or your electric and you fish it out behind the tabs, and then you unplug it. and then you fish your wire through. And then your tire carrier will be off, your factory one, and keep your light, because we will have to take it and mount it to the new tire carrier. The next step will be to shim underneath your tailgate right here to keep the tailgate up to where in the factory location. So when you take these hinges off, the tailgate doesn't drop, and then we can just go ahead and mount the new hinges in place, because all the bolts should line back up. So just grab a block of wood and just keep test fitting until you get a good snug fit between the bumper and the bottom of the tailgate. I had some door shims left over from a remodeling project, so I just kept stacking the shims up until I got the weight of this door on those shims. Next, we'll be able to take the 13 millimeter and take the factory hinge bolts out. Now that the hinges are free, we will take a T50 and we will take the bolts out of the hinge that actually mounts to the rear quarter panel. At this time, if you opt to do so, you can go ahead and clean up the dust and the debris that was behind the old factory brackets. I ended up coating this a little bit where the old hinges was, because they're a little bit bare. The paint's not as thick there, so I coated them with a little bit of wool wax. Wool wax is something that's really good to help protect against rust. I don't have time, and it's too cold outside to actually spray paint these or anything like that. So what I may do is just later on, if I ever decide to do any paint work, I'll have them take that off and paint that. But at this time, I'm just going to coat them with wool wax. Hopefully that will keep them from rusting or anything. And plus the new hinge will go in that same place and it will protect the metal. I will have to say, after getting this out of the box, even though this is aluminum, this is heavy. This is a lot heavier. This is a full brace versus just a small brace. So this actually ties in several different locations, and it really helps support this tailgate versus only having 2 bolts here and 2 bolts here. And this is where you get weak, because when you open it up, you don't really have anything out here helping hold up the weight of the tailgate. Everything is right here on this side. So this one is more like a body that comes across, and it really bolts out here to the middle too. So this will really help support this tailgate and that heavier tire. And I will have to say that this is very heavy duty. I went ahead and added thread lock to every one of the bolts. You will have to use the factory bolts back into your hinge that bolts to the Jeep. So make sure you hold on to those T50 bolts. And let's go ahead and lay this up there and get a couple of these started and tighten them up. You want to open them up on a little bit of the degree so you can get your first bolt started. Once your hinge is bolted up. You have this rubber mount that's in here. You pop it off. This is the rubber mount. It just pops right out of that hole. And the kit will give you this little rubber plug. It will be separate in the box. Mine had like a label. Mine had like this emblem from Teraflex, and then it had a rubber plug with this emblem, so it's separate than the little rubber garments that they give you in the kit. So just take that rubber plug and pop it in this hole, and that will keep water out of that part of the tailgate. We should be able to close it, and once it's closed, you will have 4 bolt holes in these big ovals. So you want to take your factory bolts that you pulled out, and I put some blue Loctite on them, and we will put those in those 4 oval holes. Those only torque down to 20 foot-pounds, but I have my battery impact. I'm making quick work of this, but I also have settings on this, and I ran it all the way down to 1. I'm just going to hit them lightly with that, with the impact, and then I will go back and check the torque. So now that we have the hinge kit on, you can see how much beefier and how much more support you're going to have. These hinges are huge compared to what was there before. Plus you have this structure here, and then you have it all the way over here and down here, and then you have these 4 bolt holes here that's going to be behind the tire carrier, that's also going to be sandwiched against the tailgate. So all of this is just going to be a lot more structure for the tailgate. And we can try opening the tailgate now. It opens really good. Those hinges are tighter, so before, you know, I could just slam the door. Now you kind of got to push it a little bit, but that looks a lot better. My bolts are factory and they're green, but you can go back and get you a little brush and touch up some black paint if you don't want them like that, but you can't really tell a lot because the green's so dark and the black's so dark. And the Torx screws, you can only see these outer ones, so it's not bad. So now that that's installed, let's get the tire carrier installed. Okay, next we're going to install the tire carrier. You will have these rubber garments, or kind of like gaskets like, and they will go behind each one of these flanges up against the Jeep. You want to make sure that your tabs on this are pointing down towards the ground and the flat part is on top. Make sure to leave those bolts loose until you get all 8 bolts in. That way you have room to pull it out and slide the rubber gasket behind the bolts. So once you get your tire carrier on and you get it tight, you have your adjustment. Now this will slide in like that with the studs facing out, and it will go, this bottom flange right here will go in between here, and you will have bolts that will sandwich around this pipe. That's how you adjust the in and outward. The up and down, you have these bolts, and you have 3 here, 3 here, and 3 in here. The lower bolt is for 33-inch tires, the middle bolt is for 35-inch tires, and the top bolt is for 37-inch tires. So you drive your studs in for your tires for whatever size tire that you're going to try to mount. So to get your adjustment in and out what you want to do is get your tire and go ahead and mount this on and slide your tire to where it's almost touching, and then mark the top of this piece of pipe, mark it to where it's flush right here. And then once you take your tire off, you slide this in just about an 1/8 inch past that, so that way when you tighten your tire, it actually compresses up against your tailgate and you don't have any type of vibration. You don't want to adjust this to where your tire is not compressed against your tailgate, because if you do, then it will have an air gap between the tailgate and this, and you will have some vibration and you may get some rattling noises. So you want to make sure that all of it's a really tight fit. So let's get this mounted on the tire, slide it up there, get us a marker and mark us a little spot, and then we can adjust it from there. So I have the tire on here. I'm going to go get a marker and push it all the way in. All right, now that we got that marked, let's remove the tire and take the bracket back off and look at our mark. So you can see our paint mark right there. So what I'm gonna do is slide it in up to that paint mark, and I'm gonna go on in about another 1/8 of an inch. Okay, what you wanna do is shove a bolt through, have a washer on one side and a lock washer, and then your castle nut. And that'll be your back bolt. On your front bolt, you have these little washers here, and you want to split this up so it keeps your wheel center. You want to put one on one side, rotate it, and put another one on the other side, just like so. Rubber washer or plastic washer between this middle tab, and then get you a washer, put on it, a lock washer, and then another one of your locking nuts. Now I have that paint line right here, so I want to go in to about where that paint line was at, and then I want to go on in about 1/8 of an inch. That way when I tighten the tire, it compresses up against this rubber bushing, and the tire will compress up against the housing over there on the hinge. So let's just snug these up just a little bit. Let's try to spread them out as far as we can. And let's push this in. And then, like I said, it was right there. Let's press it into about right there, about 1/8 inch. And readjusted. Now this one, we do want to hammer down just a little bit to get a good nice squeeze. Now what we're going to do is set the tire up, and then you have these special lugs that go onto the top side. That way you can mount your third brake light in here. If you do not want to mount your third brake light in here, then you can opt just for regular wheel studs that fit the rest of the wheels. But however, I do want my third tail light, so I'm going to use these two special studs. On the bottom, I have a locking lug for my wheel. On my wiring, I ran it in this gap and out the top. So I'm just going to leave that there until I get the tire mounted. And once I get the tire mounted, I will pull it out and run it through one of the spokes of the tire and plug into the light once we get to that point. But for now, I'm just going to leave it like that, nice and protected. And now I'm going to lift the tire up. You want to put the long studs in your top 2 holes, like I said before. And this is my locking lug. I'm going to put it at the very bottom. And I'm going to tighten my wheel. So now my wheel is installed. Feels good. We'll test the tailgate. Tailgate feels good. That feels like a real nice sturdy unit. Now I will get the bracket and we can mount it right here for the third brake light. One thing I'm going to do on the third brake light is right here at the very bottom, I'm going to go cut this off. I have a miter saw, so I'm just going to go put it in a saw and cut that off. That way I can mount that light way down here low, just like this right here. Because if I don't, then I will have to mount the light up here on the bracket, and my third brake light will be up here in my tire. And I like this look better. So I'm going to go cut this plastic right here. Okay, this is the brake light now. I took and I cut that bar off, and then I just took and cleaned this up a little bit. Now this is the brake light bracket, and then I'm going to put this right here, the bracket. I'm going to take my factory T20 screws that I took out of it earlier, that screwed into the back of it. I'm going to mount the light back the way it was. I'm going to screw those screws back into it just like so. Now the bracket's on. This kit will give you 2 19mm bolts that will screw into your lug. So what you want to do is just go ahead and reach back there and grab your wiring and run it through. Go ahead and plug up your third brake light, and then take your bolts now. Let's make sure that that light works. So that was a success. So I'm going to get a rag, just clean this up a little bit, and we'll take a look at it once it's done. Alright guys, that is the tire carrier. It worked out really well. I think it looks good, as you can see. And I got my tire nice and tight against there. Overall, I think it looks good. Well guys, that is the tire carrier. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment below. And thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.